redlining the sound, but
Yeah,
I'll turn that
you
down.
can turn it down if you need to, but maybe just start the YouTube video.
Yeah, no, I was going to do that. Right, going live.
Okay, folks, ready to? We'll see. All right, folks, this is it. I'm afraid we'll make a start. Let me see if I can get. There we are. Great. Okay, so thanks for joining us for this little demo. And for the folks online that are at home, hopefully, or wherever you are, join us. I need to kneel down so that the light doesn't show me in too much darkness. I'm hoping you can see us. This is an example of a video conference call. Okay, so it's a two-way telephone conversation, the same as we've been doing for the conference, the whole of the thing, yeah? And we can do this for field work. All we need to do is have a laptop, little Bluetooth headset like this, so that there's a noise cancelling microphone on it, and you can hear the people that are at a distance without the sound around you. It's really good if you use one that's only got one headset, so that you can hear the people around you and keep yourself safe, and wear appropriate clothing and footwear, as you all know, because that's what we do. Yeah? But with this kind of stuff, all we're doing is having the two-way conversation. It's prioritizing the conversation, which is fabulous if you've got Q&A or discussion where there's folks at home as well as people in the field. But as you can tell now, it's hard for me to work with the people in the room and the people at home as well, because I got two places to look at, and that's really quite difficult. Yeah? So we need to have thinking of ways in which we can make this easier and better. The priority for a video conference call is the audio, is the two-way audio, yeah? There is absolutely no delay in the signal going out. And when there is problems with the connection, it breaks up, the video doesn't go as good. If I move around a lot, for example, here it looks okay, but probably at home it's all a bit jumpy and a bit crap, a bit like we sometimes see in Zoom, all right? So that's why video conferences aren't fantastic when you want to show detail, yeah? And when we're doing field work, typically we really want to show detail, yeah? Detail of the big, detail of the small, such a range of things, okay? And that's why it's really important for us to think through the ways in which we can use this different technology. So at the moment, we've got the laptop, Bluetooth headset. I've got a little Wi-Fi router that takes a 3G SIM card, okay? It's £120 for the router. It's £25 for this, I think, 25 pounds for the SIM card. It lasts for 2 years and you get 24 gigabytes, okay? So I usually can't use that much in 2 years, even with doing this kind of stuff, all right? So it's not gonna break the bank. It's not crazy. You can have conversations from the field if you've got the internet 4G stuff in the field. Increasingly that's happening. We're thinking more about working locally, not going too far, so it's easier for us to check things like that, okay? One of the wonderful things, if you are considering any of this stuff, is to go out, as we do as field scientists, collect the data, yeah? So go to the field site with your mobile phone or any device that you've got, using 4G if that's what you want to test. Type into the web browser, Google speed test, and it will run a speed test, a bandwidth test. It'll tell you how much data you can send up to the internet and also bring down from the internet, okay? So most of us at home are really interested in the down because we want to stream videos and stuff from the BBC, so we want lots of information coming to us. But when we're broadcasting from the field, it's going up, yeah? We're wanting to go from the field up. If it's 2.5 megabytes a second or more, then you can do a web broadcast, because that's the kind of data rates that we need for web broadcast. If you can do better than that, then you can do better resolution, better quality, yeah? But everything that I'll show you in a moment from the web broadcast side is running at that level, 2.5 megabits a second. That's the maximum level that it flows. What it is the internet is much like a plumbing system, yeah? If we force too much water in the plumbing system, it pops and breaks, yeah? Bugger it up, yeah? So what we do is we manage the data rate that we send through the internet with the software that we use. So knowing that we've got a speed that's maybe at least twice the amount of data that you want to send, yeah, because it sort of, peaks and troughs a little bit. So as long as we've got, let's say we've got 5, then 2.5 megabits a second for your data rate will be fine, all right? Wonderful. I'm just hoping that folks can hear us. Can we have the Bluetooth headset and router details, please? Wonderful, Jennifer. You asked the one thing that I wanted people to ask. I have typed up a little Word file with a shopping list for folks. Now, I'm not selling any commission on this, but I do say that I can help people set up for small beers and things like that. So if you are interested in any of this stuff, I'll share a little link to it afterwards, and we'll put it in the forums and stuff. And yeah, have a look around and try stuff. And if you want to have a go with stuff, come here and have a play, or up and come and see people and stuff like that. Doing this stuff is the point of this, trying to make us share practice and stuff. All right. So that's a wonderful question. The one thing I'm going to, oh, my knees are gone. One thing, I'll just share my screen a second. And we're going to flip over into using, we're going to use, I'm hoping, sorry folks at home, we're going to just try and find my web browser. The issue that we always have in the field isn't necessarily the rain, because you can put equipment in waterproof bags, plastic bags or dry bags, but the sun is a bugger. So I'm hoping it's going to share my screen. I'm going to show you the interface, and we'll see this later, folks, if you want to look back on this. If you've got YouTube, you often can use that for uploading files. If you go into the YouTube area where you can create stuff, here we are. There's a little button where you can also use live broadcasting. It's called YouTube Live. Okay, so you can set up streams and things for that. And you can see here in my live streams, we've been doing some demos and stuff. We've got some running already. So I'm going to get the link for that. So it's an event that I've set up already in YouTube Live. I've just set it and it's given me the details that I need to use to send through. I'll share that in the chat area now. As soon as I can get that big again. So let's stop sharing that. Right, and where am I? Now, oh, my knees are going. I really should have got a chair for me as well as my colleague Ben here. Right, so for the folks that are in the Teams call, I've just put in a link there to YouTube, and I think we're broadcasting there already, Ben. I'm hoping that's the case. So when you get there, open that up. If you want to
Mute the sound.
maybe, can we mute the sound on Teams and not on YouTube? Probably.
There's a 40-second delay.
Yeah. So folks, what I'll suggest is there's a little delay between the web broadcast, because what happens when we're sending about the video conference call, there's no delay, no information. It just sends stuff from end to end, so that we're going to have a two-way conversation. With web broadcasting, it's one-way information, and we create a buffer, and it's a bit like you use for BBC iPlayer and things like that. And this was the way in which some of the Fieldwork Live things and stuff were done as well. Same kind of setup. But with the buffer, if you are, when you go to that live page, you'll probably hear what I said about 30 seconds ago or 40 seconds ago. But if it's all that you see, you wouldn't know. If you are in Teams and you've got the two things running, I think you can switch the sound off somehow in Teams.
Just say mute it in YouTube.
Or mute it in YouTube, but then is it going to be out of sync?
It depends which version of you they want to watch.
All right, folks. Well, you can either, if you are getting sound out of two places and it's a bit inconvenient, it's the kind of setup that we wouldn't usually do. You wouldn't usually be on a video conference call and a broadcast at the same time. So if you put the call on hold, that will be one way of dealing with it. But we can also, I'll keep an eye on the chat and stuff. We'll come back to the back into Teams for any questions and answers and stuff at the end as well. So I'm hoping that that's going to work for folks. So I'll mute myself on the Teams call, actually, so that, yeah, mute myself on the Teams call, so that's going to fix that problem, and hopefully use the chat as well if you carry on. Right, okay, so where are we, Ben? Oh, there we are, wonderful. Who set that camera up? Amazing. Now, I need a couple of volunteers, and I'm sure there's wonderful volunteers. We need 2 camera operators. Anybody can do it. It's really not hard, you just point the damn thing. Hey, Jenny, do you want to take on that one? Yeah. So, just wiggle it about. Is that yeah,
show the audience.
That's my kind of, yeah, give people a little pan. Pan slowly, slower, twice as slow as you think. Yeah. Oh, amazing. And I hope people are comfortable on being on a little YouTube clip. It doesn't go too far. It's an unlisted call anyway. This is the wonderful OU library, and here we are in the environment. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, so the way that the camera that Janine's operating at the moment, it's a pretty common digital camera. Yeah, it's a digital bridge camera. It's my own camera. It's no fancy, but it's got HDMI out of it. So it just means that you can plug an HDMI cable in it, and you'll see what's coming out. And then I plug that into a little video encoder that translates it into a thing called NDI, which is a new data interface. So the previous data interface for video was SDI, the standard data interface, but now there's one called NDI that lets us compress the video a little bit and then put it through networks and things. So there's a little box, and then that plugs into a little Wi-Fi router. The Wi-Fi router speaks to this Wi-Fi router, and then that Wi-Fi router is plugged into my box down here at the bottom. Okay, so it's just, there's a little local network that gives us the Wi-Fi, little Wi-Fi tower. And these are outdoor equipment, you know, so, and again, about £100 per unit sort of thing, you know, so it's not crazy. But the nice thing is with these, they're rated to go for kilometers. So if you've got a massive big area like a beach area, you don't need loads of them. You just need to know the direction that people are in. So these ones have got a panel and they point in a direction. The one that the camera's connected to has got a little stick antenna. It's called an omnidirectional antenna, but it just means it goes in all directions, you know. So that's really handy if you've got something like a camera where the camera operator's got to be putting the bag on their back in a minute and legging it around the field with us. Okay, cheers. And that way, the little antenna on the back will be able to keep an eye on this, you know. And if we if people could watch on YouTube, it would be better. It's an interesting comment there, folks. So if people have been on Teams, if you do try the YouTube one, just have a think about how the video changes, how different it is in the quality. Yeah, hopefully. Oh, that's a point. Please tell them on the chat.
That's what they said. They've lost the sound in Teams. And
Yeah.
It's,
Go on YouTube.
it's
Sorry.
intentional.
Sorry. Having the sound coming out of two places is really tricky. Okay, so keeping an eye on the sound. Oh, God, we will yet. So that's one camera operator, and the nice thing with that is we've got a really good digital camera. Gives us decent lenses and things like that, because you folks care about stuff like that. You tend to know more about photography than I do, yeah. So that stuff kind of gives us lots of options, especially if the camera operator knows what they're doing. So in our case, Janine's fine, I'm less so, all right? But for the rest of us, there's your mobile phone, which is also a bit of a winner, and there's an NDI camera application on that, which I'm hoping, if I switch on, oh, there we are. So in my mobile phone now, so rather than the camera, I'll just let you see Janine there with the other camera, folks. But on a pan around again for folks in the area, I hope that's okay. So it just gives us another option, you know, you can use your mobile phone rather than a fancy piece of kit. So you've probably got the equipment that you might use already, you know. So the camera stuff doesn't have to be crazy. Can be stuff that you use, you know, kind of Wi-Fi router, normal mobile phone. If you're not going too far from the Wi-Fi router, you don't need this extra equipment. So this little tower and things that we said, that's great if you've got a big beach area or over a cliff and a mountain sort of thing, you know, where you've got a group of people at the top and the car park, a bit more accessible than the beach down at the bottom of the cliff, you know. So sometimes things like that are quite useful. But actually, if you're just doing maybe a lake area or a forest area, staying within 40-50 meters of each other, just a little Wi-Fi router on its own, so that kind of thing there. And again, we've got the little sheet that I'll share afterwards with a bit of information on that, so that'll be great. So we've got a few minutes left. I'm hoping that people are okay in YouTube, and I can still try and keep an eye on the chat every now and again if people do want to start posting questions or any thoughts and things there. We'll take a few minutes of it. Oh, Derek's got a question. Chip in, fella.
You have to have line of sight. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yep. You need line of sight between the... Sorry there, Ben?
I'm on you. Stop moving your camera around.
Oh, sorry. So you see, that's why somebody else should be the camera operator. The line of sight question, actually just do it this way, much better. Yeah, go on, sir, that would be fabulous. Thank you, sorry folks. Yeah, the point is with the line of sight stuff is that it's a wireless, it's a radio signal, so it goes in straight lines, yeah? So the way that we make this stuff work is keep the line of sight. Just remember what Derek said, keep the line of sight to your equipment. Now, typically field sites aren't like that. They're not very forgiving, and often we want to go around a corner. So what we do is we use these Wi-Fi, and I'm coming back towards you, Sarah, just to warn you. We use these little, we've got two of these routers. This is the one on the top of the stand. This has got a panel on it. This is the other one that's the omnidirectional. So we can pair these so that we can put two of them that they connect to each other, yeah, and they pass lots of information between each other, almost as good as as good as it can be, sort of thing. So we do a line of sight for one section, then we put a wire between that and another one, and we do the next line of sight. So you do it in straight lines, in sort of dogleg steps, yeah, and that's the way that we've kind of got around most field sites. We've been doing this quite a few years. In theory, I've got 3 pairs because I'm paranoid. I hardly ever use them. I normally only ever use 3 of these. So often it's just one, and like the little antenna like this because it goes straight to it. But sometimes it's from that one to one of these, then another one of those that talks to this one. And that way we can do the line of sight bit. Yeah, so it is really hard. If you think about it, what the radio is doing, when it sends it in a direction, all the radio is concentrated in one direction. Yeah, so it can use that really effectively and you get a good long distance. When it's going in every direction, all the power of the radio is going in every direction all the time. So you don't get the range on these Omni ones that you get on a panel. So that's the kind of bit of a trade-off. Brian, yay.
Trevor, have you been using either body cams, either a specific body cam or an iPad, or indeed a headphone or headset
Yay.
like a GoPro?
Yeah.
Repeat the question.
So the excellent question there from Brian around, what way do we do, have we thought about the body cameras or, put them on the heads or the GoPro cameras and things like that? We actually use webcams plugged into a little computer and stuck the computer in the backpack and stuck literally a webcam a bit like this, but it was a little bit more spherical, to someone's helmet, or sometimes put them on the shoulder. But the issue is it's hard to control. So that's a wee bit, but when folks need their hands, it kind of works a little bit. So that can work. The GoPro stuff is amazing, but they're very, very proprietary. So it's really difficult to work that in any kind of general Wi-Fi way. This HDMI thing that we were saying about these cables for the camera and that you use for TV and stuff, that's such a standard now. So once you get to that, you can do HDMI and then HDMI to NDI, which is a standard for video over a network stuff. And then from that, the last little bit of it that does the magic is what my colleague Ben is doing at the moment. This is my colleague Ben Hawkridge, who's taught me everything I know about videos and various, many other things around web broadcasting. So he leads a lot of the web broadcasting work that we do here at the OU. Thank you, Ben. I know you love being on camera. But the open broadcast studio allows one person to operate and flip between the video sources. And that's something that's really, really useful. I'm wondering if I broke this earlier when I tried it, but if I switch on my open broadcast studio, then you can let me know in a minute if you're able to see that. And I'll just give it a little second to come up. Hopefully we'll be able to show you the open broadcast studio interface. Oh, did I just kill it? Yeah, maybe that's not a good thing to do.
I wouldn't worry about it because you're going to press the camera for audio.
Yeah, we'll not worry about showing you the interface for it for now. But it's a piece of software. It's open studio, open broadcast studio, so it's open source. It's free to use. But it allows you to set up these different camera sources like these cameras, and then switch between them and plug in the last little bit of it was those microphones that we were using upstairs as well. Catherine, please.
I think it's Simon Hutchinson up in MC at stage.
Right.
How about rain? Is it waterproof?
Brilliant. So these antennas that I was saying about it. Oh yes, thank you. See, these are the professionals that do the broadcast stuff for real. So I'll just repeat the question there. I think it's from Simon. It was said about, is this equipment kind of waterproof? There's a way to take this stuff, get the waterproof and rugged stuff when you can afford it, and when you can't, buy the cheap stuff and put it in a plastic, in a dry bag. Right, so that's the strategy that we've used. So for Wi-Fi antennas, actually the equipment is really well developed for that. So these are outdoor ones, and they will stand up in rain. They've got little grommets and things in them. So this is super rugged, but I'll still put them in a dry bag just because I'm paranoid. But things like the computers, you can buy really rugged computers, but they'll cost you £3,000 or £4,000, you know? So what I buy is these little ThinkPad computers. They're kind of small. Executives tend to use them for a year or so, and then they recycle them. So I get refurbished ones. So the most I've ever paid for one is 200. You usually get them for about 180, but they're just as good as most PCs. And it's actually the computer that we've been using for stuff all the last couple of days. You know, so buying a £200 computer that you can break is much better than buying a £2,000 fantastic computer that you'll hemorrhage if it gets rained. You know, so those are the kind of things. How are we doing on time? It's only 1:45. I'm right in thinking we've got till 10 to. Or 5 to? I have the schedule. See these faces. Where are we, folks? I can see folks are cold. Yeah, at 10:55 we're due to take a break. but I think we've got 5 minutes or so. Does anybody want to have a go at doing a bit of a field course exhibition or a field course demonstration? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to be able to tell you these plants, but I know a few people not too far from me. Oh, Catherine, question?
Another question from Simon. Bright sun. Can you see the screen? Bright sun next to this.
Yep. Oh, these are coming in, and they're exactly, this is the thing now. The issue that we often have with the screens is the sun, okay? So the rain is a bit of an issue, but the sun is a bugger. You can't help it, because what happens is if you increase the power on the screen, your batteries run out faster. So my strongest tip for that is a crisp box or a plastic box, yeah? So you cut one face out of a box that you've made up, so you've got all the other sides, and you put the computer inside it so it's completely covered, yeah? And that works a treat. And also, if you get enough gaffer tape around it, it'll weather the storm as well. So those are the things for this. High tech often works. It's the equipment I can afford.
I've got a question.
Yeah, please, Leslie.
So you mentioned before about buying maybe a refurbished but a cheap computer because you can
Yeah.
make it. How does that fit with sustainability?
Well, this is a nice one, isn't it? So this is the thing. So if we are renewing our computers every few years, yeah, with new equipment, is that more or less sustainable than if we were renewing it with refurbished or pre-used equipment? So on my take, actually, for the going forward, unless I really need the best of the best, the latest stuff, I think I will try and go for computers that have already been used, because they're just going to last that bit better.
You go do a demo talking about the plants out there.
Hey, Ben's remind. So is that okay in terms of that's my take, but I suspect you might know more about this stuff than me. So if there is nuances around how we manage and sustain tech. The other thing is, don't buy equipment and leave it in the cupboard, if it's not being used, give it to our community, pass it on through. If you are updating this stuff every few years, make sure somebody else in the line can get it, So. Any other questions, or should we explore a little bit? Leslie, do you fancy telling us a few plants or something, or is anybody else up for that? Anybody want to show us what fieldwork is really like?
Well, the problem is your microphone's the only one working, so do you want to go down there?
Yeah. Just pop this one. Hey. Anybody want to join us over here at the field site? Oh gosh.
How do you switch between cameras?
So the switching between cameras is a piece of software called the Open Broadcast Studio, okay? And in this little sheet that I'll share, there's a link and stuff on, and actually I think I've got a link to it that I'll show later on today. But it's a thing called Open Broadcast Studio, very straightforward to use, fairly intuitive, and there's a few tutorials and things as well on that. It's a bit of a community that's been doing that stuff for a long time. So that, and the truth is Ben does a lot of it. It's good. Right, Janine, is that going to work? Ben, are we all right with that? Hey, a thumbs up from Ben. So look, typically, this is the thing, is it's this kind of stuff that my colleagues, Julia, who's legged it, and Hayden, because she knows I'd ask her to do this stuff, and Sarah also, who's managed to get a better job, would be in this space, showing us the equipment. And it's really helpful to have quite a good camera in a set position that we use as a base location, So whatever you're going to do, if you are doing a broadcast piece, whatever you're going to do, have a base place that you can come to and know stuff, and that focus will work and things like that, because you've all set it in place. The sun will move a little bit and change things, but not necessarily a lot. Oh, unless Ben's not happy. And the benefit of having more than one camera is that you can have that as a safety shot, and you can switch to that very easily. And then if there's something where you need to have a little bit of detail, you could have a second person operating a camera that'll show the details. So Sarah, if you could be the close-up camera, I'm not sure how good my mobile phone's going to be, but maybe if you can come as close as you like, but probably stay a foot or so away, and maybe if we can check the kind of detail that we're getting on that. Just do the best you can to see. I'll try and shape things in the light. So, we're not all botanists, and I'm certainly not, but it's this kind of environment where we might want to show things, get a sense for what is going on, maybe what's the range of stuff here, what can we say about the soil in this environment. Actually, that's really sandy. It's pretty friable, although it's a little bit damp at the surface. Don't need to go down too far. It's actually not been raining for ages. You can see here the grass layer. We keep on going down. Is there going to be enough in there to get a real sense of what the environment might be? I'm sure the gardeners love us doing this. But maybe there's some matter in there that we could take and identify things from. Maybe weigh stuff in order to try and identify different properties. I wouldn't like to guess on some of that, but you get a sense, hopefully, of the kind of resolution that we do. And the nice thing with having the other camera is that you can flip back to that when you want to make some separate point, you know. So hopefully, operating between them. Yeah, it's really good. Brian, please chip in.
Simon was asking a question about mics and wind noise.
Sorry?
Mics and wind noise.
The wind noise. Yeah. Yeah. So it'd be, you could probably worth saying today. Yeah. So there's a little. So Julia, just to let. So, yeah. So for the wind, these little microphones that I've got, this has got a little foam on, but you can also get a furry one called a dead, well, they call it a dead cat when it's a bigger one, but I'm not sure if that's a dead mouse or something, but it's a tiny little one. But it's just a little fur thing, and as long as that's in close, it tends to be pretty good. The other thing is you can put it inside clothing. So typically when we're doing field work, you got a coat on as well. Actually having the coat over it really, really helps. You know, it's really, so sorry if it made noise on that. And things like if you are using those Bluetooth headsets that I was mentioning before, using things like this is great because they're designed for these ones are designed for truckers, right? They're cheap as chips, they're 30 quid. You know, it's not I don't go for Plantronics and Jabra 200 quid stuff that's going to go down the river, you know. So I'll buy the cheap stuff, but because it's designed for truckers, it's got a noise cancelling head in it, you know. So they actually, it noise cancels stuff based on sort of sensing the ambient noise. So that cuts out a fair bit, you know. So you can get away with quite a lot. The little furry things really do work. They're really good. You've used something like that.
When I did the video of me explaining what quadrats were on the top of Burbage Moor in the Peak District, and it wasn't blowing a gale, but it was windy.
Yeah.
And the sound was fantastic with a little fluffy mic. Yeah, it worked really well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Hey, good. All right, I'm not going to pretend to be any more of a fieldwork person because I really can't fake it or make it in this crowd. But we'll maybe wrap up a little bit. I'm going to walk back up and we'll just check in case there's anything else coming in on the chat, or if there's any further questions. But now the sun's coming out, it's feeling a little bit warmer. We're not quite as cold, but it is coming up to the coffee time, so we'll take a little break. But let's just check in case there's any other questions of that. Yeah. Are you okay, Ben? Yeah. So just to check back on the chat there and stuff. Sorry about the audio walk chatting to Addy. Came in. Oh, sorry. Yeah. The current setup, Janine on tripod camera. So. Oh, great. Folks have been adding in the chat and stuff there. Brilliant. Okay. Right. I can't see any other particular things on the chat, but do shout out if there is anything, folks. Shall we wrap up with that? Is there any other kind of queries or thoughts from this side? In terms of setting this stuff up, what you do is you come early like I did this morning and you connect everything up on the site, switch it all on, then switch it off. I'll leave it in the situ or in bags so that you can nip down during the last talk and switch it on again. And even then, if the buggers upstairs have got your microphones and you can't do that until they come down, you've got that. But that's the kind of time, you know, it helps to get somewhere early. Same like any fieldwork setup, it's all preparation. Right, thanks everybody for taking part. We'll have a nice coffee break and we'll see you back at, is it 10 past, I think? Brilliant.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah. And thank you, Ben. Yeah. And please, if there aren't any further questions, myself or Ben, I hope we'll be happy to answer a little bit.
I think that switching between is that's
The
quite
video
impressive.
sources
Yeah.
is great.
Everyone wants to have a quick look at
Yeah,
yes,
please do.
come round and I'm happy to do a little demo. I'm just going to stop the stream now.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, you've talked to them on there, haven't you?